Hello, welcome back to RMU Live. I'm Isabella Harris.
And I'm Nick Evans. Coming up in the show, we have the latest on Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, how the local teams are performing, and what movie has been a smash hit at the box office. But first, we're going to send it over to weather, right, Isabella?
That's right, Nick. This holiday season brought the first snow of the week this winter, but just in time for December, let's send it over to Sarah Krim for a weather update.
Thanks, guys. I'm Sarah Krim, and I'll be giving you your weather updates today. It's getting pretty snowy. We're gonna start off with today's overall forecast. It's gonna be a high of 32 degrees and a low of 16 degrees. It's gonna be pretty humid at 78%, and the chance of precipitation is gonna be 31%. Now, moving on to today's hourly forecast. At 3 p.m. it was partially cloudy and 29 degrees, and that's still right now. It's partially cloudy and 29 degrees. And then at 6 p.m. it is going to get a little chillier at 24 degrees, cloudy. And then at 9 p.m. it's going to be even chillier at 20 degrees, and it's still going to be cloudy and dark skies. Make sure to keep a heavy coat if you're going out tonight. And then moving on to tomorrow's overall forecast, it's going to be a high of 33 degrees and a low of 24 degrees. It's going to be pretty humid again at 79%, and the chance of precipitation is at 15%. That's all I have for today and tomorrow. Make sure to keep on watching for the upcoming week. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sarah. We'll be sure to bundle up as the cold conditions continue.
Pennsylvania residents can now apply for the LIHEAP heating aid after delay from the government shutdown. The LIHEAP program is funded by the federal government and helps eligible households pay bills by sending heating payments directly to utility companies and fuel providers. Rita Black, People's Natural Gas Director of Community Assistance Programs, said, quote, LIHEAP is a critical resource for families who need a little extra support during the heating season.
A FedEx delivery driver crashed his truck into a creek after veering off a bridge while making Christmas deliveries on Tuesday. Sean, the homeowner whose property was involved in the crash, rescued the driver, who escaped with only a concussion and some bleeding. The homeowner said he has questions of the incident because the rail was completely destroyed, even saying, quote, the fact he was able to shear the railing off, he had to have been moving, end quote. The crash left a costly mess, leaking fuel into the creek. The Chartiers Township Police Department said that the case is pretty cut and dry and have ruled it an accident.
The Pittsburgh EMS Fire Division Chief becomes the second employee to be fired in connection with overtime scandal. There's a new fallout after 11 investigatees, inclusive reporting on an overtime scandal in Pittsburgh's emergency medical services. Sources are said to believe that the amounts were anywhere between $6,000 and $13,000.
A major water main break in Mount Lebanon early Wednesday morning has been fully repaired, restoring water to dozens of customers. The break happened in 1000 block of McNeely Road, leading to water being completely shut off during the fix. According to Pennsylvania American Water, around 75 customers were impacted. Nearby Seton LaSalle High School had to run a 2-hour delay schedule due to the water main break. Despite the fix, Pennsylvania American Water said that 2 customers had to be helped with property damage from the flooding.
An ATM was nearly stolen from a Sheetz in Cheswick. Verona police announced the arrest of a Pittsburgh man accused of multiple criminal charges. Authorities chased a truck later believed to be the vehicle involved in the alleged attempted the license plate theft. Court records explained a group of masked men attempted to steal an ATM from the Sheetz. Jerry Chambers, 59, and 2 other men attempted to steal the registration plate from a Ford pickup truck, but were unsuccessful and left.
Waymo, a self-driving taxi company, has announced that they are expanding their services to Pittsburgh. This announcement was made on Wednesday and included a list of other major cities, such as Philadelphia, Baltimore, and St. Louis. These autonomous taxis, which is owned by the Google parent company Alphabet, have been being tested for years now, already providing service in Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and Austin. Starting this week, Waymo will begin testing their fleet. Announces for availability to the public are expected soon.
One of the most expensive development projects in modern Pittsburgh history, the $7,400 million Esplanade on the north side took a definite step forward on Monday with a groundbreaking ceremony. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro called the development in the Chateau neighborhood and its planned signature attraction a giant Ferris wheel and a, quote, game changer for the north side, end quote. After this, controversy ensues as U.S. Defense Secretary confronts questions following a boat strike in September.
Also, how this loved big box store is responding to the president's tariffs.
And a few ways you could stay safe as the snowy weather is only beginning, so stay tuned. Welcome back to RMU Live.
Pete Hegseth, the United States Secretary of War, is facing deepening scrutiny from Congress over recent strikes on drug boats off the coast of Venezuela. Hegseth, who has been receiving large skepticism of his fitness to lead U.S. military, reportedly ordered a second strike on survivors of the first missile. Legal experts have said that this order violates peacetime law. President Trump, of course, responded to the criticism of the strikes at Monday's cabinet meeting. Let's take a look.
As far as the attack is concerned, I didn't, I still haven't gotten a lot of information because I rely on Pete. But to me, it was an attack. It wasn't one strike, two strikes, three strikes. Somebody asked me a question about the second strike. I didn't know about the second strike. I didn't know anything about people. I wasn't involved in it. I knew they took out a boat. But I would say this, they had a strike. I hear the gentleman that was in charge of that is extraordinary. He's an extraordinary person. I'll let Pete speak about him. But Pete was satisfied. Pete didn't know about second attack having to do with two people. I guess Pete would have to speak to it. I can say this, I want those boats taken out. And if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on.
Hegseth added more to that comment by saying that, quote, fog of war led him to believe there were no survivors in the water before the second strike. This act is not the first questionable moment of Hegseth's short tenure, as he was involved earlier in large issues surrounding the U.S. officials communicating through the Signal messaging app to discuss military orders.
Talks between Russia and the U.S. on ending the nearly 4-year war in Ukraine were constructive. Putin's aide also said that, quote, so far a compromise hasn't been found on the issue of the territories, without which the Kremlin sees no resolution to the crisis, end quote. The meeting came days after the U.S. officials held talks with a Ukrainian team in Florida, in which the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described in cautiously optimistic terms.
President Donald Trump announced that National Guard troops will be deployed to New Orleans within the upcoming weeks. This move comes after Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry requested for up to 1,000 troops to fight crime, in addition to the immigration crackdown coming this week that has been dubbed the Swamp Sweep. Despite local police officials claiming that crime has decreased in New Orleans, Landry cites concern for elevated crime levels to call for the president's help. Incoming mayoral-elect Helena Marino has expressed concern that this surge will lead to rights violations, while outgoing Mayor LaToya Cantrell has said the city is open to working with the federal government to improve public safety. Other Louisiana cities, such as Baton Rouge, could also receive troops. Federal authorities are preparing a targeted immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota that would primarily focus on Somali immigrants living unlawfully in the U.S. This move comes after President Trump raised his frustrations with Minnesota's sizable Somali community. Let's take a look.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to...
The enforcement operation is expected to begin within the coming days in the Minneapolis and St. Paul area, but Minneapolis police stated that they will not help with the operation. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey says that the operation, quote, violates the moral fabric of what we stand by in this country, end quote.
Black Friday and Cyber Monday are over, but the holiday shopping continues. Walmart, Target, Best Buy, and other retailers say they had to raise their prices this year. The companies argue they needed the money in order to pay off the new tariffs. Now, one of the largest U.S. retailers is challenging some duties in court.
Costco is suing the Trump administration over tariffs.
It wants the court to hold that those so-called reciprocal tariffs that the president started imposing on imports back in February, that those tariffs are unlawful.
The retailer is making its case in the U.S. Court of International Trade, but a similar lawsuit before the Supreme Court appears to be related.
Costco is trying to ensure that if the court rules that those tariffs were unlawful, that it will be in line for refunds.
Costco says it's been trying to keep down prices, but says tariffs make that difficult. It imports many items it sells and has to pay any applicable duties on those goods.
Some companies have raised prices, many companies haven't.
The Trump administration is trying to convince the Supreme Court to let the tariffs stand. The president argues they're good for the country.
We're making a lot of money because of the tariffs that are pouring in.
Costco's lawsuit comes in the holiday shopping season. The Federal Reserve reports affluent consumers are still buying luxury items, yet spending is declining for low and middle income Americans.
There's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. They just say the word. It doesn't mean anything to anybody.
It's not a scam. It's the lives that people are leading.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Costco's not yet specified how much the tariffs have costed the company, but some experts say that other companies may also file suit and try and get money back if the tariffs are ruled unlawful. Michael and Susan Dell, the CEO of Dell Technologies, announced on Tuesday that they're donating $6.25 billion to fund investment accounts for at least 25 million American children. The large pledge will go toward helping fund the Trump accounts, which is a new initiative that offers investment accounts for children. The Trump accounts were established as part of Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act and are set to launch in 2026.
Former Honduras President Juan Orlando Hernandez was released from prison this week following a pardon by President Donald Trump. Hernandez was sentenced last year to 45 years in prison for his role in a drug trafficking operation that moved hundreds of tons of cocaine to the United States when he was seen as a U.S. ally. Trump defended this decision, saying that Hondurans believed Hernandez had been set up, even as prosecutors argued that he protected the drug traffickers moving cocaine into America. Many argue that his conviction proved just how deep the cartel's influence is in Honduras. This all unfolds in front of Donald Trump's aggressive counter-narcotics push.
A new study is suggesting that a shingles vaccine may slow the progression of dementia. This shingles vaccine not only offers protection against the painful viral infection, a new study suggests that the 2-dose shot also may slow the progression of dementia. While the new study turned a spotlight onto a possible relationship between shingles vaccination and dementia, outcomes it did not specify uncover why the vaccine may have these potential effects.
The dropping temperatures aren't only uncomfortable, but the winter weather can also be dangerous, even deadly. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither, has simple reminders on how to stay safe in cold conditions.
When the temperature falls, the danger rises. In 2023, more than 1,000 deaths in the U.S. were due to excessive cold or hypothermia. And in the months ahead, experts are urging everyone to stay safe.
Winter weather can be extremely dangerous in so many ways.
The American Red Cross says if you do go out in extremely cold weather, wear layers of loose clothing in a coat, hat, mittens, and water-resistant boots. Using a scarf to cover your face and mouth can also help. And inside, if you use a space heater or fireplace, keep anything that could catch fire at least 3 feet away from the heat. And to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning, don't use an oven to warm your home and only use generators outdoors.
This past year, the Red Cross has responded to more than 48,000 home fires. And this time of year in particular, a lot of that is caused because people are just trying to stay warm.
You should also know signs of potentially deadly hypothermia, including shivering, exhaustion, confusion, fumbling hands, memory loss, slurred speech, and drowsiness. When it comes to frostbite, symptoms can include a white or grayish yellow skin area, skin that feels unusually firm or waxy, and numbness.
Make sure to get out of the cold immediately and to seek medical attention urgently.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Thanks, Mandy.
The American Red Cross says it's also important to check on the loved ones and neighbors who are more vulnerable in frigid temperatures, especially if they're older or they live alone.
Well, coming up next, a preview of the RMU men's basketball team opening in the Horizon League play.
Plus the news on the RMU men's hockey team as they start their season conference, and how the Steelers shape up against a familiar foe. Stay tuned.
Bring it. Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home.
Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride?
Sure. Yeah. All right. How about some one-on-one? I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to RMU Live.
We're getting into the winter months for the sports schedule, meaning that it's crunch time for football season, and basketball and hockey season are in full swing. Let's send it over to Joey Dramasic for the latest.
Hello and welcome back to sports. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to speak to all of you, and during that time the weather has gotten pretty cold outside. But the winter sports are heating up, so let's get right into it, starting with a preview for some upcoming games for the Colonials. Starting off with the solo game tonight as men's basketball kicks off their Horizon League play versus Green Bay. Tomorrow, men's and women's hockey are in action on the road, with Saturday. Once again, it's men's and women's hockey, with women starting at 3 and men's starting at 6 p.m., which is then joined by men's basketball taking on Milwaukee at 8 p.m. on the road. ending up the weekend with women's basketball, who take on Northern Kentucky to start their Horizon League play on the road at 1 p.m. Now let's take a deeper look into some of these teams, starting with the red-hot men's basketball team, who over the course of the past week went on a 3-game win streak with wins over USC, Southern Utah, and Stetson to improve to 6-3 on the season. However, tonight starts their journey to defend their championship status in the Horizon League as they take on Green Bay on the road tonight at 7 p.m. 12 of the 15 Colonials are going to be welcome to the Horizon League with a lot of physicality, so Coach Toole will be looking for Ryan Prather Jr. to help to lead the team in their first Horizon League game. They also are on the road versus Milwaukee over the weekend before returning home to Moon Township. Sticking on the hardwood with the women's basketball team, who got the bad taste out of their mouths after 2 losses to Pitt and Eastern Michigan with the 73-71 win over Mercyhurst to improve to 5-2. The win by any means was not pretty, with 19 turnovers committed by the Colonials compared to the Lakers' 9. The Colonials had a huge performance by freshman Lake Fields, who dominated in the paint, scoring 24 points while shooting 11 for 17 from the floor. And for Bailey Kuhn, she had a successful trip back to her former school with the 10-point and 7-rebound performance. The Colonials take on Northern Kentucky to start their Horizon League play this Sunday. Now over to the ice, the men's hockey team had a successful weekend up in Erie, PA, as they had a weekend series with an AHA rival, the Mercyhurst Lakers. RMU took 5 of the 6 points over the weekend and added a win and a tie to their underwhelming 3-9-2 record. They remain on the road and travel to Colorado to take on Air Force. Air Force currently sits at 8-6-2 on the season. Bobby Moe has failed to tally a win versus Air Force since 2020, so Derek Scully and the Colonials will look to break the streak this weekend, starting on Friday at 9 p.m. and at 6 p.m. Saturday night. Now over to the women's hockey team, who were in action last weekend versus RIT. They took Game 1 with a 5-1 win, but then fell in Game 2 6-3. The Colonials end their road trip with 2 games versus Syracuse this weekend. The Colonials are looking to have 2 big performances versus the Orange before returning home next weekend. Game 1 starts at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Let's move down to Pittsburgh and begin with the Steelers, who are currently on a 2-game skid and are coming off an embarrassing performance against the Bills in their 26-7 loss this past weekend. The Steelers, who are now 6-6, travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who are also coming off an underwhelming performance against the Bengals. The Steelers look to get back on track with a win and fight their way back to the top of the AFC North. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. Wrapping up sports with the Penguins, who currently sit 13-7-5, take on the top team in the Atlantic Division, the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Pens come into the game with a good amount of confidence after a dominant performance with a 5-1 win over the Flyers, with Sidney Crosby scoring 2 in the win. The game is set to start at 7 p.m. tonight. And before we go, I just want to congratulate the Riverhounds for becoming the USL champions for the first time in franchise history. Well, that's all I have for you this week. Have a great holiday season. Until next time, I'm Joey Dramasic. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Joey. Hopefully the Steelers can end this slide they're on with what has been a very frustrating season so far, I would say. Still ahead, how this upcoming week's forecast will have us all wishing for warmer days.
Also, how a star was dethroned in this year's most streamed artist leaderboards.
And a record-setting opening weekend for this newly released movie after this.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my 3rd child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs.
You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
Welcome back to RMU Live. The winter weather has been bearing down recently, with temperatures sinking lower and lower.
Let's check back with Sarah Krim for the 5-day forecast.
Thanks, guys. Let's get right back into it with the weather for the upcoming week. It's going to be pretty snowy and pretty cloudy on Saturday. It's going to be cloudy with a high of 36 degrees and a low of 30 degrees. On Sunday, it's still going to be cloudy with a high of 36 degrees and a low of 23 degrees. On Monday, it's going to be partially cloudy with a high of 28 degrees and a low of 16 degrees. And then it is going to get a little bit chillier and snowy. On Tuesday, it's going to be a high of 35 degrees and a low of 32 degrees. And it's going to be snowy and a little bit rainy on Wednesday with a high of 40 degrees and a low of 30 degrees. That's all the weather I have for you today. I'm Sarah Krim, sending it back to the desk.
Thanks, Sarah. We've got a lot to look out for as we head into the last week of the semester.
The holiday season is finally here, which means the end of the year Spotify Wrapped and Apple Music's replays are now available for users to look back on their most listened to songs, artists, albums, and genres. On top of all that, it gives you the exact amount of minutes that you spent listening to your favorite tunes. Spotify also has a super fun feature where it analyzes the music that you most listen to, and it gives your listening age. If you have either of these music streaming sites, take a look back on your year in music.
A self-proclaimed Pittsburgh social media influencer was indicted on Tuesday for the relentless stalking and harassment of nearly a dozen women across multiple states. The man, identified as Brett Michael Dadig, would meet women in gyms and stalk them, moving to different cities whenever he was reported to the police in the area. Dadig was banned from multiple gyms in the South Hills area, even the South Hills Village Mall itself. According to the indictment, Dadig would take advice from artificial intelligence to try to meet women, saying it was God's plan for him to build a platform and stand out. He is accused of harassing women through social media posts and even showing up to their homes and workplaces. Dadig now faces a maximum total sentence of up to 70 years in prison and or a fine of up to $3.5 million.
CNN has struck its first one-of-a-kind partnership with Kalshi that will inject real-time prediction marketplace probabilities into the network's coverage across TV, digital and streaming, and a move that stands to rewire how one of the country's largest newsrooms interprets the future. Kalshi, which bills itself as the world's largest global prediction market company, explained that the agreement marks its first major news partnership. The agreement follows a wave of prediction market integrations across the media industry.
There was a big roar in the film industry this weekend as Zootopia 2 had a record-setting opening at the box office. The animal sequel collected a staggering $556 million globally, which is the biggest opening ever for an animated movie and the fourth biggest debut of any kind ever. Zootopia 2 follows the duo of bunny cop Judy Hopps and her fox partner Nick Wilde in the city of Zootopia, which is filled with all kinds of domesticated wildlife. The film, along with Wicked 2, are heading what the box office hopes to be a strong end to the year that has had weak earnings in the theaters thus far. I am so excited to go and see Zootopia 2. I'm actually going tomorrow. Have you seen the first one?
I saw the first one a while ago, but I don't know if I'm going to see the second one anytime soon.
Well,
I
it's
was a
really
kid
exciting,
when I watched
and
it.
there's
I
a
don't
bunch
know
of
if I
good
can.
movies coming out. I know Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is coming out. Wicked 2 has been great.
I heard it's for more of an adult audience, I guess, more.
Well, that's all we have for
everybody, they grew up
today.
with it.
Thank you for tuning in to RMU Live, and we hope to see you next time.